Episode 24 of the Trackside Lounge. Welcome on in, and guys, it's been a while, so I do apologise. Got a bit sick, but I'm better now.
Well, we had plenty to talk about the last couple of episodes, to be fair, and we sort of worked our way through, so good to have you back and feeling better. And that blooming bug that's been going around, I actually had it about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I didn't give it to you because well and truly clean before we got together, but to film this program.
that went down a rabbit hole. Didn't need to. A lot of motorsport in F1 has had a couple of races, but to be perfectly frank with you, I'm just getting a little bit tired of the way the F1 is panning out this year. I mean, the good news is Liam Lawson had a really good race in the points, P8 ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, ahead of his teammate in the
Hadjar,
VCARB, and of course Max Verstappen turned up fourth, didn't win that one, so he's looking forward to the end of the year. And I think honestly, we're all looking forward to the end of the season, are we?
I think it's like you're always going to get that, especially when, next year we've got some major technical changes as far as the regs, as far as the cars, and even with the likes of, like Adrian Newey, now he's at Aston Martin.
Yeah. Is
Aston Martin going to be the dominant force? Because, Newey's got such a track record for building incredible championship-winning cars.
Or will it be the stunning Cadillac with Ferrari power?
It could.
Sergio Perez, one of the drivers.
Yeah.
They've got him back in.
So they reckon, yep.
Just trying to get the other one was. But, good to see him getting the recycle drive after being booted out by Red Bull, and what better way for him to come back and prove something. But I've got to ask the question, though. Are Red Bull on the decline? Are they on the way out? I mean, they've dominated for so many years, and bearing in mind, some guy called Schumacher in Ferrari was the same thing for so many years. Then Ferrari were in the wilderness, slowly bringing their way back.
Yeah.
McLaren this year definitely the top team, and closely followed by Mercedes and Ferrari duking it out. But are Red Bull over and out? Are they? Have we seen the best of them?
I think it's a tricky one because, I mean, like I say, major technical changes next year, so the pecking order, so to speak, was already going to get shaken up pretty massively. But Red Bull in particular, now they've got the driver saga, obviously with Lawson and Tsunoda and all that sort of thing. Now they've got team principal issues. And now they don't have Adrian Newey. They've got so many personnel changes as well as obviously the cars themselves. So it's, you can't really change much more, can you?
And there's the possibility of a regulation change which will limit the amount of teams owned by one team, because you've got the essentially Red Bull 1 and Red Bull 2, Red Bull and VCARB.
Yep.
They're looking at changing the rules and regulations about that.
Oh, okay.
Because teams aren't supposed to share information,
right?
And they might bring in a rule about that next year. So there might be a secondary. Geez, this sounds good. A secondary owner coming in to pick up something to still work with Red Bull as a supplier of powertrains and things like that, but separate from Red Bull for tax purposes.
But how similar would they be, though, the junior team to the main team, when you're talking about everyone?
Red Bull in the main.
Well,
good.
Like they are still
Identical.
distinctive cars. It's not the what have they got now? The RB21, the Red Bull car. The Racing Bulls. It's not just a direct clone of the RB21. It is its own distinct car. So, look, that's a tricky one. I hadn't actually heard about that one, so again,
about it this morning.
can't change much more as far as the Red Bull side of things. They've already got different cars, different drivers, different team principal, different head of vehicle design. So whole lot of change going on at the moment at Red Bull. Are we past the prime of Red Bull? I mean, I think we're past this prime, but obviously down the line.
And I'm not wishing ill on them. I'm just asking the question. But what I am wrapped with is that Liam, top 10, finished 8th place, qualified 9th, finished 8th, made the pass, and I watched the discussion from Yuki saying about the reason why things were so bad, that he missed his pit window. He was going by the door, as they said. They were saying box now. I know that these guys have got the latest and greatest technology. They know where that car is at every inch of the racetrack. They're not going to sit there and go, you know what, he's just going past the gate. Hey, Yuki, how about you pop into the pits? They're not going to do that. And I do wonder that, is it a little bit of desperation from him who's struggling? And, the guy that has been in Formula 1 for 5 years, who should be showing Max, hey, look, I'm right here for you, buddy. I'm right behind you. You're in 4th, I'm in 5th. Or, hey, how about you slipstream me and I'll get you to the front? But he's just not doing it. Liam had 2 races. He'd never had a chance to do that. Before then, the other drivers, Ricciardo was booted out from the second team as well. They've had Perez. I mean, who haven't they had driving those cars? But Yuki, to be fair, and I'm just starting to think, I think time for excuses are a little bit over from him in 5 years into racing. So it'll be interesting.
The thing is, it's a high pressure thing, right? And there's a lot of people talked about Liam Lawson. They said, insecurity's getting to him and that sort of thing. And of course, he said, no, it isn't. And what we've seen is him settle down within the team now and getting some good consistency to it. So it's just a matter of kind of getting your head in the game. And I think with all the stuff that's going around, maybe that's affecting Yuki just a little bit.
Yep.
Because if you've watched the Drive to Survive series, he's always been a subject of that. Is he good enough to be here? What happens when Honda aren't with Red Bull next year? Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So maybe it's part of the drama that's playing out in that one. But speaking of people settling down, Shane van Gisbergen. Look,
That's the one.
it's a 19th spot, but he had a pretty trouble-free race. We didn't have wheels falling off. We didn't have tyre problems. He got into the rhythm of what it takes to race on an oval because it takes a rhythm.
Yeah, and his oval pit crew. I mean, we talked a few episodes before about how his rotten luck in the pit stops always seem to happen on the ovals. They conveniently disappear when they head to the road courses. But the fact that he's now finally starting to get on the and like we said, as he makes his way around America, he's driving all these different ovals. He's learning at Charlotte. He's learning at Dover. He's learning at Indianapolis. So he's it's taking time, but we are starting to see. I mean, a top 20, that's pretty cool. I'm still seeing some of the hunched shoulders and a few NASCAR legends. You might have seen the videos of them talking about how Shane van Gisbergen's not a real NASCAR driver, and he's road courses. Nah, that's not real NASCARs. Which is wild, because you're telling me that NASCAR and its booze smuggling, cops running routes.
All they did was drive around in circles.
Apparently, yeah. You could. It's amazing how quick you could get away from the police turning only left. But anyway, that's another one.
I like this guy. I really like this guy.
Quickly winding up the other American-based one, IndyCar, got some good runs on the weekend. Now, interestingly enough, Alex Palau won the most recent race. It's his 8th win of the season.
Wow.
This is the interesting bit. There are 3 more races for this season for IndyCar. If he wins 2 of those, Alex Palau will equal the best ever result in a season in IndyCar with AJ Foyt. If he wins all 3, he becomes the all-time best in a season IndyCar racer, which is pretty. Like, when you consider the one that holds the record of 10 is AJ Foyt. The last time he raced was in the 70s?
Yeah.
So,
a while ago.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of drivers that just haven't been able to pull off that kind of performance. So Alex Palau's really settling down.
And I'll be honest, I'm almost apologetic about Alex Palau because no, I'm only following McLaughlin. I'm only following Dixon. I'm only following Armstrong. And I should be more notable. I should be taking more note of that Palau is doing so well, and I'm sorry to say I'm not putting those together. So I'm a little bit Kiwi one-eyed, but
it is tricky when you're trying to keep tabs on all these series.
Yeah,
you can't really. You sort of pick 2 or 3 good series, and I think for you that's been sort of Supercars and NASCAR, hasn't it? And then everything else, keep tabs on the results.
And Waiuku did
and Waiuku. But
more on that later.
But it does get tricky when you're trying to follow like racing as a whole, because there's the endurance stuff, there's NASCAR, IndyCar. Obviously all the global GT, Blancpain and all that. And,
Hey, let's not forget Formula E.
Okay. Anyway, but Nick Cassidy.
Yeah, Nik Cassidy.
Good and bad.
Parting ways with Jaguar.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw it on YouTube. There was a little thing with the headline coming up about the way, because Jaguar was falling apart, the Formula E thing, and then they just showed a spectacular run of crashes of sport cars. They were just smashing into each other, and you thought,
that's how you get people interested in the sport. Look how much damage we can cause.
Now Formula E are bringing out the new generation car, aren't they? Is it the Gen 4?
3, I think. Yeah.
Now, is it true that that's going to have a hybrid powertrain, much like Formula 1 is going to have a petrol engine with an electric engine? That the Formula E's are going to have an electric engine with a petrol generator in the pits, so when you pull in, they'll just whack that in, and you get a bit of shut up, Nick.
I'll stop you there. I'll stop him there.
I know they've got some super duper charge. Like it's some massive power system. You plug it into the car, and it'll give you something like 20% battery in like a minute.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Loads goes haywire.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that happened a while. It was a couple of years ago now. I don't know if you guys remember the Global Rallycross. They had an electric car category. I don't know if they still do, but anyway. And I think it was a Lancia. They had like a fully electric Lancia.
That's right.
You know, super duper. It was like 600 horse, you know, rallycross car, right? And yeah, it caught fire just on charge. It was just sitting there on charge, went up in flames, and the whole tent building pit structure thing.
There was multiple cars that got burnt. Yeah, that's right. So and that was terrible.
Never heard much about electric rallycross after that.
No, actually, didn't Hayden Paddon have a bit to do with the development of the Hyundai?
He's got that Hyundai Kona.
Because that thing's a rocket ship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good demonstration car.
That's probably, to be honest with you, and I'm just saying, Hayden, I think you're awesome at this. Probably the reason why they don't have an all-electric rallycross is because you've developed that Kona and no one else can match it, mate.
No.
I've seen that thing and went running through the forest and she's a rocket ship.
Yeah. Yeah, he can turn his hand to anything, even driving a front-wheel drive Vauxhall at a Lemons race in Highlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Hayden Paddon.
We had to bring him in for penalties because he was doing absolutely nothing wrong.
No.
And so that in our book is a penalty.
But when he came in, though, he came in too fast in the pit, so we had to penalise him again.
That's a fair cop,
and he says, this is true about Hayden. We've gone off on topic. That's all cool. He goes, am I going to be here for a while? And he goes, yes, you are. And so he goes, okay, he dropped out. And he went and go and have a piss. He went and did a Greg Murphy.
He did a Greg Murphy.
But by himself. He goes, oh, well, I'm never going to be, so...
Hey, it's all race time, isn't it? What are you going to do? Leave the seat wet for you to drive?
It was great.
Okay.
Oh, no. Then we'd have to call him Hayden Puddle.
I'm going to stop right
I'll be right there.
And things we got into Rallycross,
yes.
The Waiuku Dirt Track Club were back in the forest again.
Boy, they had a great race meet on Sunday just gone, and the weather was awesome because it hadn't rained for a week or two. Now, if you're hearing background noise at the moment, it is hosing down while we're filming. I hope you're not hearing that, but at Waiuku on the Sunday, fantastic. It didn't have the hugest turnout. They had like 30-odd cars, which is 30, 40 is about right. So it only had 30-odd, and oh, mate, again, the quality of cars. I know you've got some really, really good shots, so hopefully you can put some footage up. But, I mean, what was... Nath came out as well, and maybe there's one more to go. Maybe if you get a chance to come out in 3 weeks' time for the next one, the last one. Also sponsored by Chris Alexander from Suspension Tech.
Yep.
But who was your favourite? I mean, it was your first skid for the season, having a watch. What did you think?
I mean, I've been meaning to come out all year, but then every single Sunday that the rallies have fallen on, I've had this or I've had that, or it's just been one of those ones. So I finally managed to come out, and I do love the forest, the Waiuku State Forest. It's a beautiful venue. They've got, 13 Ks or something that they can sort of make into different stages.
Up to 13K stage,
And so we're not talking a 60-second sprint and you're done.
No.
And I mean, as far as what was there were some beautiful Mitsubisis, a couple of Evo 3s, and the VR4, which was quite,
Actually,
it was quite tidy.
See a VR4 out again.
Oh, mate.
That, of course, is the development car for the Evos, wasn't it?
Yep.
And Dave Beaver was there, and 2 weeks ago, Dave Beaver was in his Mark II Escort. Yeah, Mark II Escort. And this week he turned up in this race meet turned up in an RX-7. Oh. And man, that thing had some welly. And he was puffing out, there's quite a few of them puffing out big flames. So if they had boost, they had it wound up. They really were giving it a good nudge.
It was just and it was such a variety too.
Yeah.
Like you had Evos. You actually didn't have any Subarus though. I was surprised. Mazda
Come on, Nik Speedy, we're counting on you, buddy.
Pulsars and Escorts and you name it, man. It was so a few of the ATVs as well.
Yes, a couple of them.
Little motorbike engine things.
Yeah.
They kind of dominated the previous ones, though, didn't they?
Yeah, well, there wasn't. The UTV boys were at another race meet, and the guys that were there was more the standard type Volkswagen powered off-roader, and there was the motorbike powered thing. He was a rocket. A couple of crashes too. There was actually a corner that they had this car, and unfortunately 169 ended up becoming 691, and the problem was he'd gone off on such a hill, the car ended up upside down right beside a tree, and the guys are saying, if we put that on its wheels, it's going to disappear into the boonies, so they had to leave it there, and then had other drivers sitting there coming around going, car, corner! They got all messy, and I think at one stage there was 3 cars there. One had gone off, one had stopped, and of course the 169, 691, so
that was got to be unnerving when you're coming through a rally stage and you have to pass the stricken... not remains, because obviously it's still perfectly fine, but a stricken car, and it's like, and there was a bit of I think someone mentioned it was like the light. You know, it was sort of
Yeah, the shadows, yeah.
in the shadows, and
Going
that was
into
what was
the
catching
shadow.
the people out was cresting the corner, and then you're going downhill, turning left, and it's in the darkness.
And the second car on the track was our mate Jake Holland, Hooncorp driver from the last Lemons, and he's a real cool character, son of Dutchie, because that speaks volumes. So son of Dutchie. So Jake is out there in his R32 Skyline. He made point 4. He was the first one to find out that point 4 is quite a nasty spot. And I've got to do a huge shout out to a guy called Ryan Turner. Now, Ryan Turner, Rhino, is the guy who drove that modified. You've got photos of that and videos of that before the modified at the Waiuku Rallycross.
He's the viral modified driver.
There's 300,000+ views, he's not unreal. And Ryan Turner was there as a spectator, who was Kiwi Recovery. He does V8 supercar recovery and all that through the weekends, you see, as well as other motor racing events. He was there just as a spectator, nothing involved with the recovery. Sees Jakey's in peril with the car. They got the car back, front end had broken and all this sort of stuff. And so he just goes in there, boots and all. And he's like, mate, I think it's like 35 minutes, that car was turned around, repaired. Jakey went and took it out for another skid, but the steering had taken a bit of a tumble. It was all right, so he brought it back.
In the front of it, I think.
But Rhino, you're a good bugger, mate, and that was really cool of you. And he spent a lot of time and effort getting that car, for no reward, no. And also, I think Pinky as well, Phil Blackburn. They needed a specific type of bolt. And Pinky, good on you too, mate. He brand new, not bolt washer, the whole 9 yards to help Jakey get his car back together. So
see, that's the thing about the Waiuku Forest, right? We've talked before about how it's such a well-kept secret, and it's a bit of a if you know sort of deal.
Yeah.
But, everyone's just there for the fun of it. Everyone's there for the spirit of the event, the love of rally. There's no politics, there's no drama, there's no...
And one last thing too, I just want to finally, just on that matter, the people we get there, I don't normally call out the big names, but Kingsley Jones was there, one of the competitors, and Kingsley did really well. He made easily the top 5 in the King of the Hill. But Kingsley at the prize giving actually took the time, because everyone just gets certificate. The last person, first person gets the same certificate, but obviously where you've come 33rd, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And when it came to Kingsley's time on King of the Hill, he actually stood and said, guys, I just want to acknowledge this is an awesome event. It's just such a cool atmosphere, and people are there for the love of racing. And he said, we don't see that. And Kingsley, that was spot on, mate, because for him to take that time, and he's a National Rally Championship contender, past, present, and hopefully future. And he recognises quality motorsport and club run events. It's a can-do attitude in between.
It's what this whole thing's about. It's about the grassroots level. And when someone like Kingsley comes into an event like the Waiuku, it shows that you can lift it. So everyone that might be turning out for the first time, the car they've just nailed together, needs a few bolts. You get a little bit of advice on how to do it, how to drive, and how to get better next time, because that's how it develops.
And there'll be a lot of people sitting there afterwards going, I was only 2 seconds behind Kingsley, and knowing his calibre of driving. And there'll be 2 or 3 guys that were faster than him, but they were in cool cars. So, it's the whole thing about Waiuku. And there's other Waiukus out there. There's other events and clubs and groups.
They're called something else.
They are.
I was going to say, but they've all got to have their own, Waiuku Forest Rally in, I don't know, Tikawara.
And I think it's something that this is what the Trackside Lounge is all about. It's not just about, we do Formula One, and we've got a pretty good knowledge across motorsport in general, across the country, around the world. I mean, I'll stop it. You know a lot more than you let on. Yeah, he's no idiot, this guy. He's very, very well prepared. And the thing about it is that, if there are other groups and organisations and clubs, and we can mention and shout out what you're doing, happy to do it, because there's a need for that. There's a need for people to know, and it doesn't just have to be in Auckland or Waikato. We know the South Island is a buzz with motor racing, and guess what? We reached the South Island. We know that.
There are some cool cars sitting in sheds down in the South Island that guys, they just keep them perfect and ready to run at any stage. So any opportunity they get to go out there. Speaking of which, we talked about the Waiuku Dirt Club, and guys from Hooncorp have got a website that's got some of the racing on there. And one of the cars that I particularly liked, bearing in mind this is a forest rally event, is an AU Falcon. She looks a bit. They used to do them in Australia. They used to have around Australia the Commodores and the big old cars. But the AU Falcon, it's a big old bus to be taken through a forest. I tell you that. And there was a couple of moments when it looked like it had gone surfing down the hill, but he did all right.
Managed to pluck it out of the weeds and.
Create a whole new road at one stage.
I was going to say that's a whole other stage in itself. But and see again, that's the whole thing about Waiuku. I mean, we know we're talking about them a fair bit, but bring anything and they'll make it. They'll put it in a class, right? You can show up in your daily driver that you just chuck all terrains on. And then show up in your AP4.
It's got to have a cage, though. It's got to be a race car.
It's that whole. Like you say, bring a Falcon, bring an Evo, bring a, cross cart.
So if you've got a car knocking around the back that's not doing a lot, but it still runs, put a cage in it. Take it racing somewhere. Do it properly. Have a bit of fun.
Keep it safe. And I want to talk about motorsport safety, because we've had a few issues in the recent there, talking about incidents and accidents and things like that. And it's something that a lot of people like to sweep under the carpet and say, oh, no, don't have that. Motor racing is dangerous. And we've done, clicks before on Hooncorp and other pages and that before about the safety of doing it on the track and not doing it on the road. Because, as we were talking off here, that the whole motor racing thing that is better than driving and being a dick on the road is that there's no race cars coming the other way. Well, there shouldn't be, unless you've got someone with navigational problems. And when you've got the issues we've had in the last year or so, obviously I refer to superstock teams and some of the superstock crashes that have happened outside of teams racing. That includes some other racing just recently on the weekend, unfortunately, in Eastern Creek, Darren Barlow, who's passed away, and in a sports car, and it's one of those things. But it's and one other thing I've got to shout out to as well, at Sandown just recently, there was a fantastic, this weekend just gone, was a fantastic tribute to Tim Miles, who passed away a week or two ago now. And Brendan Leach should have been racing with Tim, who actually, he pulled the plug and said no. In all fairness, he couldn't, because they were just good mates, It sounds like Tim was, I'll be honest, I don't know Tim from a bar of soap, but they did a tribute at Sandown, and Brendan was driving this Audi, and they had this grid of cars lined up to go racing in quite wet conditions, but they were lined up on the grid as a starting grid, and they had the Dale ITM car there at the track. And Brendan was in the car, I don't believe he was competing, and he was all geared up in the car, and they gave him a special green flag. Cars are static, all the drivers out of the car. They showed this fantastic tribute to Tim, and Brendan does the hardest thing a race car driver can do, drove slowly. And he drove out, he went away from the cars, go down the front straight at Sandown, popped a couple of circles, just to make sure the tyres were good, and then he was just putting around, and it just really gripped me how much of a tribute that was, because race car drivers on a racetrack with an empty track, no one around, and then it also showed me going down the back straight, the flag marshals were standing there, and as he was coming up to them, they were all taking off their hats, they were all bowing their heads, they were all doing whatever they felt was the right thing to do, because there's no script on what you're supposed to do with, tributing to someone. And they took that time, and then he went right around the whole track, came back down the front straight, came and did a couple of times, he did a couple of, tributary circles, and then he came down through the grid, came right back up to the thing, and got a huge round of applause. And everyone, all the flag marshals, all the hats, everyone taking their hats off and all that, but... And that was fantastic tribute, but we don't want to talk about. But we've got to remember too, Tim didn't die in a motor racing accident. It was a cycling accident. And yet we talk about motor racing danger and how dangerous it can be. Superstock teams, superstock racing, dirt racing, circuit, gravel, all that sort of stuff. But sometimes, if it's got the bullet's got your name on it, all of those guys I mentioned in the racing industry were top drivers with top gear, with freak accidents now.
And that's it. Let's make no bones about this. When you're competing in motorsport, you have quality safety gear. It's all checked before you can go out there, so it's as good as it gets. If there is a moment where things could go horribly wrong, and there is always a moment where it could go horribly wrong, you've done your best to minimize the impact of that. And we've seen so many people who have not died and got away with it because of the safety gear. So the safety gear is there, but the possibility still exists. Here's something to think about. If you're on the road and you don't do things like simple stuff, put your seatbelt on, or you drive too fast, or that sort of thing, that minuscule opportunity for something to go horribly wrong gets multiplied 1,000,000 times. Now, on the racetrack, You've done all your best. So unless you're actually driving on the road with your helmet on, with your fire suit, with your 5-point harness on, don't be stupid.
No. And the thing about the track too is, and we've talked about it before, is that at the track there's medical, at the track there's fire, at the track there's a tow truck, recovery, there's people who will get you out of that car or whatever.
There's people there who their only reason for being there is to pluck you out if things go pear-shaped.
Yeah. And they'll go running to your car that's on fire to put your, your fire out, and hopefully you're okay. And if your car is set up, and the thing about safety is that people that go, I can get that XYZ PPE cheaper than that XYZ PPE, but that XYZ is a good one, and that one maybe, you just don't know. And I want to shout out to Taylor Lamp in the Superstock realm, and also Jerry Linklater, who've had big crashes and are recovering. So hopefully the friends and family of those two guys are, I know Taylor's just got himself out of hospital, and he's walking around, but he's suffering and going through it, and Jerry's got a long way to go as well. But family and friends, good time to keep supporting them, and don't turn your back on them. But Darren Barlow in the sports cars in Australia, and he was the president of the Super Sports Race Car Club of Australia. So he was a man that was on a mission as well, and a big part of that circle. And unfortunately, one of those things happened at Turn 1 at Eastern Creek, and we know how that can very quickly go pear-shaped. But I put on the helmet. I haven't done for a few years. I will be in again in the future, and I don't really get scared about that. I get scared about going on the road more than I do on the track. And yourself as well, Nath. You've been out on the track, and
yep. Same thing, like you say, everyone's going the same way, they've got the same goals, they've got the same mindset, the racer mindset, whereas on the roads you've got little old ladies and, regular Joes, as opposed to people that are thinking a bit more motorsport minded.
Or you've got people who aren't thinking at all.
Well, that is true. That is true.
The infotainment system take care of everything, and in some cases, turning on the autopilot.
An auto-drive Tesla.
And you do something dumb like that, not only you're putting yourself at risk, you're putting everyone else at risk on the road. So honestly, when you're driving, concentrate on what you're doing. It's a real simple thing.
And see, that's the thing too. I mean, talking about like safety and motorsport, I think we were talking yesterday or the day before about how many people who were motorsport people, but they were also extreme sports people, Ken Block, Colin McRae. All these people who, by all accounts, I'm not saying should have been killed, but the dangerous stuff that they did and the stunts and
Michael Schumacher on the skis.
The stuff that exactly. All this wild stuff that they did, and you're sitting there going, wow, that's dangerous. Ken Block, that Gymkhana video where he drifts the Fiesta and just about goes off into the wharf, and then he's drifting in front of a moving train, and then he's got all this stuff, and then he's like, his accident came on a family holiday. It's leisure. And even Tim, his accident was on a bicycle, wasn't it? And how often do people talk about, cycling being a lovely leisurely activity that's so, as far as motorsports itself, the leaps and bounds that we've had. And again, we also talked a while ago about Dr. Roger Freeth and how even his accident sort of cemented safety going forward. So it's
massively.
Yeah, we are in a very good spot with motorsport, but
Autocana coming up in a couple of weeks' time, or a week and a half's time, 10th of August.
Yep. So we've got just under a dozen spots left.
No, they're 10 now.
Nine.
Nine now.
9 left. Yep.
So usual good old-fashioned Autocana fun. We just do these events just to get people behind the wheel. And you see when you go along and you're in the paddock, there's first-time drivers, there's guys who only come to those events, and that's their sort of fix of hooliganism. And then you've got some race guys who, they just want to top the timesheets. They don't care if it's a time attack or a race or whatever. So it's, again, like the Forest Rally, bring a car, we'll fit it into somewhere.
Yep.
And so that's going to be awesome. That's going to be another great day. Hopefully a bit drier than this.
Quickly though, if there's 9 spots left, how do you get one of those spots?
Yeah, Hooncorp on Facebook. So chuck us a message or email us or text us or chuck the contact details there somewhere. Hey, look at that, there they go. And then obviously the next month we have the track day.
Yes, 10th of September at Hampton Downs. Numbers are down at the moment, but obviously we're a little while away. We need to get those entries in by the 11th of August because that's when the deposit has to be paid. And if we haven't got the numbers, we won't be doing it. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do the, pull the plug on it. But there was a lot of call for it, so we've done it. And I know we're a long way away, so I think we'll get numbers. But again, we'll start to chase that call and get that happening. But it was exciting, and hopefully we drag this character along too, and he can go out and do some circles there in the whatever class, and it'll be quite a cool thing to see. No timing, don't have to be timed, but
cool.
Because
if you want time,
manual stopwatch though.
Mate, you need a calendar if I'm driving.
Oh, he's not that bad.
He's about 4 months behind everyone else. That's great.
He just says that because he's got a Skoda. It's all right. He'll be fine.
Quickly, sim racing.
So
the event you had last time.
Yep. So we had the 6 hours of Silverstone.
Yep.
I didn't even make the first corner before I got took out, but. That's a good way to start. That was just, one of those things.
Impressive.
Bit of just the usual lap one antics, and we got sort of sandwiched. So just one of those things. But we clawed back 12th, and that was a pretty titanic effort. Tim put in a couple of real good stints, and then the other car, the 37, I think we got 7th. They got the class win.
They won the class.
7th overall, I think.
5th, I thought.
5th?
Might be 5th. They did really well.
Did
really, really well. But
anyway, they did really well. They did better than us.
Yeah. You guys got second in AM, and the 37 car was first in Pro-Am. 2 class podiums, class win and a class podium. Obviously, we'll put those points towards the effort. Next one's Kyle Army in a month. And we are actually looking for some sponsors for the remainder of that series too. We got 3 more races, and so we just sort of having a few changes behind the scenes, a few personnel bits and pieces. Jason Wilkinson, who's been running the season since it began, he's the founder. He's finally gone, look, I just don't have the time for it. He's got himself a spot in the police force, so he's obviously out doing bits and pieces. So. And good to have Trev involved too, because Trev got a new bubby, but he still puts the time in. So he didn't make the last one because of being busy and stuff. But he's a huge part of the behind the scenes effort, and a lot of the guys that put him in, George, and a lot of the other fellows here, that Smitty and guys that put in the time. It's incredible. So I wouldn't say we'd chuck him behind the wheel of a sim rig because he's probably better than I am, but I'm hopeless. We could do. In fact, that might be a video in itself. Is can Nik Brown get within a anyway? But look, I mean. Again, it's another one of those instances that the people that we have involved are doing it for the love of the sport. They're not doing it purely for financial gain. They're not doing it for anything other than we just want to go sim racing. And the AUSNZ series has been such a cool platform to actually do endurance racing, do proper events with teams, with drivers, with some pretty notable drivers too. There's some guys that have done some very, very cool racing in real life. And just to make it easy, AUSNZ is AUS, not OZ, so AUS-NZ. So it's a Trans-Tasman series. Yep.
So if you want to stick it up the Aussies without even leaving the pleasure of your own console, you know what to do.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, just about come to the end of the show. I just want to end on one thing. Fastest drag racer ever.
Oh, yes.
That's a big word.
Ever.
And it's not a he.
Brittany Force.
Yeah.
Brittany Force, she unveiled.
Whoa.
Not just once, backed it up like 2 days later.
Fantastic.
I mean, she comes from a long line of great drag racers. I mean, John Force has been legendary. But the fact that ever since she got involved with the sport, she's been top tier. Absolute top tier. And when you think about it, like we're talking a run, there's, I don't know, something like 10,000 horsepower just behind her back. You have 3.5 seconds. It launches with more force than 3 space shuttles. By the time you get to the end, you haven't breathed. You have to think to kill the motor, pull the chute, and get on the brakes to stop it. Otherwise, you're going to go terminal. And it's like 400, 500 kilometers an hour. But that occurs that fast.
Yeah.
So think about that. And bloody hell, she's good. It's just a pleasure to watch. You forget about it until you watch drag racing, and then you go, Oh my God, that's phenomenal. And if you think to yourself, what possible knowledge could you have about that? The physics of drag racing is something else. If you're at university or studying that, think about the forces involved, think about the fuel that's involved, and the small nuclear explosion that happens at the exhaust tips, because that's where it combusts. It doesn't combust in the cylinder because it's under so much pressure. The engine is very nearly at a hydraulic lock, but it still unleashes 10,000 horsepower faster than you can blink. It's astonishing stuff. It's noisy. Yeah, it's a little bit offensive, but aren't we all? Catch you next time.